this is Dr. Lo from Fang University. Welcome to the lecture of social psychology. I'm making this video mainly is for Fang University student who is taking social psychology class with me this semester. But since this is a YouTube channel, so if you are watching this video and you are not my student, it's okay. This is YouTube. We can share with the whole world. So welcome to join me for this lecture of social psychology. And by the way, if you like my channel, you can subscribe. I'm not trying to sell myself, but you can subscribe, and then that means whenever I make a video, they will notify you. But anyway, so this lecture is the part 2 for attitude and attitude change. We talked about attitude in our last lecture. Everybody still remember what's the definition for attitude? Definition of attitude actually is your evaluation about things, about idea, about object, about everything. Well, because what? We are human beings, we are not neutral observer. Whenever we see the things, we just cannot help. We always have some idea, and we all have some, we call judgment. Okay, even judgment may be not good, but it's there, right? We are not a neutral person, right? And even also very important is because whatever your attitude you hold with, they will determine what are you going to do. And if you are the leader of organization, if you are the leader of the country, if you are leader of a company, then whatever your attitude will determine what you are going to ask your company to do. Okay, so for example, right now, the big issue for right now is coronavirus, right? So how do we prevent it, right? And in my last lecture, I have this. Let me put it on one more time, right? This is something we call mask, right? And its mask is important for this coronavirus or not. Will determine what's the attitude about this, right? Is this for the regular people or this only for the medical profession, right? So in Taiwan, the president and all the society decide the mask is a good way to help people to prevent the virus. So then you see the whole country, everybody wear mask. So right now, in school, in the whole class, like my sister class, a student 120, all the students wear mask. The professor wear mask, okay? So that's how their daily life looks like, okay? So because the leaders believe mask is working, okay? Another hand, when we compare to our countries, Europe, America, all these countries, you supposed to have mask free because this is not the way to protect virus, okay? So you see people go out just like this, right? And then if you wear mask like I wear, you make it a strange look. Well, people will think you are sick, or people think just somehow strange, right? Well, so that is a very good example about attitude. Different attitude of you will determine what are you going to do, okay? And then we all talk about the attitude have 3 kinds, right? Everybody remember? Affective, cognitive, and behavior, right? Affective, that means your attitude is come from your emotion, right? And cognitive, that your attitude come from what you think, and behaviors, your attitude come from how you do, right? And we say this attitude can be have two part of source, right? One is from genetic, right? So it's, you will see your attitude, like we talk about the identical twin, your attitude will be more similar than fraternal twin, and of course with your brother and siblings, okay? And then another half come from social experience, right? And so that's what we have last time, and we talk about, your affective emotion come from, so we say except genetic social psychology, social experience, it's also from conditioning, right? Conditioning, and we talk about classical condition and operant condition. Hopefully you remember that, right? Classical condition is US plus CS equal UR, right? And then hopefully eventually CR produce CS produce CR. That means it's something you like original you like, pair with something nothing to do with it, neutral, and then you have the response. Then gradually the CS will produce CR. Okay, so that's called classical condition, and operant condition will come from consequence. So if you do, like when I wear mask, when I back to Taiwan, let me give a drink of water. Can you just hold 1 second? Thank you. So when I'm in Taiwan, I back to Taiwan, I wear mask. Everybody say, yeah, good job, yes. Then I feel comfortable, okay? But when I'm here, I wear mask, people give you the strange look, then I'm kind of say, maybe take off, right? So the consequence will decide what's your attitude about, right? So that is very important, okay? And so now we are talking about the next one in our slide, talk about behaviorally based attitude, okay? So let me bring here so you can see the PowerPoint. Okay, so here talk about an attitude based on observation of how one behavior toward an attitude object, okay? And we say a lot of times, especially when we in the place, our attitude, maybe our initial attitude about something is very weak or ambiguous, because that means you don't really know, are you supposed to be agree or disagree, okay? So in that time, actually, you cannot observe what you do yourself, okay? Depend on how you do yourself. If you find your physically, your body very comfortable with the setting, you maybe say, hey, that's actually a good idea. So for example, when I'm just new in America, I'm not really used to hug, okay? But when I find myself, I can hug in my friends or the classmate comfortably, then I start to tell myself, hey, maybe I'm okay with hugging. And now actually, gradually changing. Now I'm okay, and actually I'm kind of enjoy hugging when I see people. So that's kind of example of behavior-based attitude. Okay. The next one will be talk about attitude. Attitude have two kind. Okay. One is called explicit. One is called implicit. Okay. So explicit attitude is attitude that we consciously endorse and can easily report. That means something you know for sure, very obviously, you're consciously, you know what's your attitude about something, okay? Implicit is mean attitude they are involuntary, uncontrollable, and at times unconsciously. So there's something you don't even know you have an attitude about that. So that's implicit, and the one you aware is called explicit. Okay, so they say actually a lot of time we do something, okay? We do something, and we even aware, but we may not know what's our inner attitude about, Okay, so they have an example actually here. I like this one. Okay, they say sometimes quite often students like to say they don't like math. Okay, but maybe inside their attitude about math may be more positive than their outside uh, attitude about. And the reason people keep talking about they don't like it, maybe because what? Because everybody, whole class, they talk about they don't like it. So you may feel uncomfortable when you say actually you not hate it much, right? So depend on what situation, just be aware, when we talk about attitude, they have something obvious consciously and something unconsciously, and we call it explicit versus implicit. Okay, now let's think about, when do attitude predict behavior? When do attitudes predict behavior? Okay, and one of very interesting research, actually they found actually people's behavior does not always correspond to their attitude. Okay, and they have very interesting research here. Let me show you here. Okay, here, Lapierre in 1934. Okay, 1934, that's a long time ago. And he did this research because in 1930, early 1930, in that time, actually pretty much in the United States, they have prejudice against Asian. Okay, so actually a lot of hotels, they not welcome the Asian people stay in their hotel. Okay, so that is 1930. So then Lapierre want to see how people's attitude really consistent with their behavior. Okay, so actually he did survey first. Okay, so when he did survey, he found actually more than 90% of the hotel owner say they definitely not welcome Asian to stay in their hotel. Okay, 90%, and then the rest of 10% they say not sure yet. You know what? Even 90% the people say they don't, but when he actually bring a Chinese person, go around the many places in United States, okay, and he found what happened. Surprisingly, 251 hotel people host them, only one refused them. So that show even 90% of hotel owners say they won't, but actually when he really do it, you find people actually their attitude is not necessarily predict their behavior. Okay, so that is very interesting study. Don't you think so? Okay, now let's see what do we have. Okay, so how much your attitude can really predict your behavior. So how your attitude can predict your behavior? It's really depend on how accessible your attitude. Okay, so here say the strength of the association between an attitude object and person's evaluation of the object measured by the speed with which people can report how they feel about the project. So this is called accessibility. Okay, so especially when you are in situation you are not sure, and you don't even sure how is your attitude about that, then how they predict your behavior, predict your behavior, right? That'll be very, very hard. And this, you have certain things very clear, then in that moment when it happened, then you know how to respond, right? Okay,